Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we will talk about the cardiovascular system. In this, the heart is the main organ in the cardiovascular system. So, introduction about the heart is a roughly cone shaped, you can see in the picture, it is a roughly cone shaped hollow muscular organ. It is about 10 cm in long and weight about 225 gram in women and 310 gram in men. The flattened base of the heart, perhaps confusingly, is the superior surface with the pointed apex. You can see the apex, this part of the heart is called apex. So, with the pointed apex below pointing downward the left side. This is the left side of the body and it is the pointed apex toward the left side. So, next is the position of the heart. The position of the heart in a human body. The heart lies obliquely in the thoracic cavity. You can see in the pictures how the heart is lying obliquely in the thoracic cavity. In the mediastinum, what is the mediastinum? In which space is called mediastinum? The space between the lungs, means between two lungs the heart is situated. Slightly more to the left of the chest, it is left toward the chest. This is the left side of the body. The apex is about 9 cm in the left of the midline at the level of the fifth intercostal space. You can see 9 cm and the fifth intercostal space is that. So, the apex is about 9 cm in the left of the midline at the level of the fifth intercostal space. Intercostal space means the space between two ribs is the fifth intercostal space, and little below the nipple and slightly nearer the midline. Below the left nipple, the base extends to the level of second rib. So, next is organs associated with the heart. Inferiorly, the apex which rests on the central tendon of the diaphragm. We can see the central tendon of the diaphragm, this one, and the superiorly the great blood vessels, means the upside of the heart, the great blood vessels are the aorta, superior vena cava, pulmonary artery, pulmonary veins which enter the heart at its base. Posteriorly, the esophagus, trachea, left and right bronchus, descending aorta, inferior vena cava and thoracic vertebra. And laterally means two opposite sides of the heart, the lungs. In previously we read that the heart is situated in the mediastinum, means the space between the lungs. So, the lungs, laterally the left lungs overlap the left side of the heart. Anteriorly, the sternum, you can see here the sternum in pictures, this is the sternum, and ribs and intercostal muscle. Those are the ribs and intercostal muscles. So, next is the structure. So, next in heart structure, the heart wall is composed of 3 layers of tissues: pericardium, myocardium and endocardium. In that, first is pericardium. Pericardium is the outermost layer and is made up of two sacs. The outer sac is fibrous tissues, fibrous pericardium, and consists of fibrous tissues, and the inner, the serous pericardium of the continuous double layer of serous membrane. So, in that second one is myocardium. Myocardium is composed of specialized cardiac muscle found only in the heart. It is striated like skeletal muscle but is not under voluntary control. It is not under our control. Each fiber means cells has a nucleus and one or more branches. The ends of the cells and their branches are in very close contact with the ends of the branches of the adjacent cell. So, the last membrane is endocardium. This line the chambers and valves of the heart. It is a thin smooth membrane to ensure smooth flow of blood through the heart. It consists of flattened epithelial cells and it is continuous with the endothelium lining of the blood vessels. So, next we are going to see about the interior of the heart, means the interior structure of the heart. So, at first we will read the content, then we will see in the pictures. The heart is divided into a right and left side by the septum. A partition, what is the septum? A partition consisting of myocardium covered by endocardium. After birth, blood cannot cross the septum from one side to the other side. Each side is divided by an atrioventricular valve into the upper atrium and the ventricle below. The atrioventricular valves are formed by double folds of the endocardium strengthened by a little fibrous tissue. The right atrioventricular valve means the tricuspid valve has three flaps, means fold of the membrane, and the left atrioventricular valve means mitral valve has two fold. Flow of blood in the heart is one way. Blood enters the heart via the atria and passes into the ventricles below. So, next we are going to see the content we read in the pictures. So, this one is the atria and this one is the ventricle. This is the septum which is divided the heart into two parts. This one is right side, this one is right side. This one is the right side of the heart and this one is the left side of the heart. So, which one is the tricuspid valve? Means which one is the atrioventricular valve? Atrioventricular valve is this. This one also atrioventricular valve. Atrioventricular valve is dividing the atria and ventricle. Next, the tricuspid valve. Which one is the tricuspid valve? This is the tricuspid valve which is dividing the right atrium from the right ventricle. This one is the right atrium, this one is the right ventricle. So, next is mitral valve. Mitral, which one is the mitral valve? This one is the mitral valve which is dividing the left atrium from the left ventricle. So, next we read that the flow of the blood is one way, means the blood is coming from the inferior vena cava and superior vena cava into the right atrium and it's going through the tricuspid valve into the ventricle. Next way we will see about the next content. So, the valves between the atria and ventricles open and close passively according to changes in pressure in the chambers. They open when the pressure in the atria is greater than that in the ventricles, means when the atrial pressure is greater than the ventricles. During ventricular systole contraction, the pressure in the ventricle rises above that in the atria and the valves snap shut. Snap shut means close, preventing backward flow of the blood. So, when the atria. So, next we are going to see about flow of blood through the heart. At first we will read the content, then we will see in the pictures. The two largest veins of the body, the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, empty their content into the right atrium. This blood passes through the right atrioventricular valve into the right ventricle and from there is pumped into the pulmonary artery or trunk. So, we came into the pictures. We will see from the by the in superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, the blood is coming into the atria, means right atrium. From the right atrium, it's passed through the right atrioventricular valve. This one is the right atrioventricular valve. This name is tricuspid valve. Through this, the blood is coming into the right ventricle. This blood which is coming through the inferior vena cava and superior vena cava coming into the right atrium, this blood is rich in CO2. This blood is coming back from the body. So, the blood from the right ventricle is pumped into the pulmonary artery. So, next we will see the content. In this, the opening of the pulmonary artery is guarded by the pulmonary valve formed by three semilunar cusps. Cusp means fold. This valve prevent the backflow of blood into the right ventricle when the ventricular muscle relaxes. The pulmonary trunk divides into the left and right pulmonary arteries. So, the blood is going from right ventricle to the pulmonary artery. In that, one valve is there. This valve name is pulmonary valve. So, through the pulmonary valve, the blood is going into the pulmonary artery or pulmonary trunk. This is preventing the backflow of the blood from pulmonary artery to the ventricle, right ventricle, when the right ventricle is relaxing. So, we can see the pulmonary artery is divided into two parts, two branches, left and right. So, next is the pulmonary arteries carry the venous blood to the lungs where exchange of gases takes place. Carbon dioxide is excreted and oxygen is absorbed. Two pulmonary veins from each lung carries oxygenated blood back to the left atrium. Blood then passes through the left atrioventricular valve into the left ventricle and from there it is pumped into the aorta, the first artery of the general circulation. So, we came into the pictures. The blood already went for the lungs. Lungs absorbed all the carbon dioxide and blood absorbed all the oxygen. Then blood is coming back through the left pulmonary veins. Left pulmonary veins is that, this is the left pulmonary veins and the right pulmonary veins. You can see in these pictures, this is the right pulmonary veins branches. Through these, the oxygen rich blood from the lungs is coming into the left atrium. This is the left atrium. So, from the lungs, the oxygen rich blood coming through the left and right pulmonary veins into the left atrium. So, next, the oxygen rich blood came into the left atrium. From the left atrium, the oxygen rich valve came into the left ventricle through the mitral valve. This one is the mitral valve. Through the mitral valve, the oxygen rich blood came into the left ventricle. So the next content is, from the left ventricle there it is pumped into the aorta, the first aorta of the general circulation. So till now we are seeing the systematic circulation. Now we are entering into the general circulation. The opening of the aorta is guarded by the aortic valve formed by three semilunar cusps, which prevent blood flowing back into the left ventricle at the end of each contraction. So we came into the pictures. Now we will see how from the left ventricle the blood is going into the aorta. This one is the aorta, and through the aortic valve, this one is the aortic valve. So from the left ventricle the oxygen rich blood is entering into the aorta through the aortic valve. When the blood is entering into the aorta, the general circulation is started. So the next content is, the blood thus passes from the right to the left side of the heart via the lungs or pulmonary circulation. That both arteria contract at the same time, and this is followed by the simultaneous contraction of both ventricles. The muscle layer of the walls of the arteria is thinner than that of the ventricles. This is consistent with the amount of work they do. The arteria significantly helped by gravity pump the blood only through the atrioventricular valve into the ventricles, where the more powerful ventricle pump the blood to the lungs and round the whole body. So the content is telling that the layer of the ventricle, means the wall of the ventricle, is much thicker than the arterial ventricles. We can see in the picture that how the wall of the ventricle is thick than the arterial wall. So we can tell that the ventricular pump power is greater than the arterials. So from the ventricle the most amount of blood is pumped into the pulmonary trunk through the pulmonary artery. So I hope that you all are understood the physiology, means the flow of the blood through the heart, how the blood is flowing through our heart, and how the blood is oxygenated into the lungs. So if you are like my videos, please like it, share it with your friends, and please subscribe my channel. So when I will release any videos, you can watch it and share it with your friend. Thank you. Keep watching.